The thumbnail of this video, if you don't live in California, then I'm going to picture this in your head because you're going to live in California on this video. Because, when you walk outside, right? Let's say you live around the mid-urban areas, right? In the city areas, right? Not so good of a neighborhood, perhaps we can say that. But there's crimes here, there's crimes everywhere, right? Let's say you live around City Heights and El Cajon Boulevard. If you don't know where that is, don't worry, because it's outside of San Diego, right near Mission Valley. If you live around there, you can probably agree that I'm not telling any jokes. I'm being serious. Because when you go outside of these areas, right, when you start going to south, right, 5 South or aka 163 South up to downtown San Diego, we can all agree that when you see those first streets, right, 11th Street or 6th Street for some of you, right, going north, we can all agree that we can see so many homeless little houses, so many encampments. That's how they tell it. And the articles, they say, oh yeah, there's a homeless city in San Diego. It's enormous. All right, so before I start, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing very well, because I'm doing well indeed. It is indeed night. You can't see, but it is indeed night. And so, since you already saw the title and the thumbnail of this video, if you don't live in California, then I'm going to picture this in your head because you're going to live in California on this video. Because, when you walk outside, right? Let's say you live around the mid-urban areas, right? In the city areas, right? Not so good of a neighborhood, perhaps we can say that. But there's crimes here, there's crimes everywhere, right? Let's say you live around City Heights and El Cajon Boulevard. If you don't know where that is, don't worry, because it's outside of San Diego, right near Mission Valley. If you live around there, you can probably agree that I'm not telling any jokes. I'm being serious. Because when you go outside of these areas, right, when you start going to south, right, 5 South or aka 163 South up to downtown San Diego, we can all agree that when you see those first streets, right, 11th Street or 6th Street for some of you, right, going north, we can all agree that we can see so many homeless little houses, so many encampments. That's how they tell it. And the articles, they say, oh yeah, there's a homeless city in San Diego. It's enormous. Now, we can't really stop homeless from being homeless, because, I want to share my little experience. So on this channel, I don't put any of the other stuff I do in the background, right? Because around a month ago, I started a new channel, which it was an interview channel. So, pretty much I went out to people and asked about certain political questions, right? And so I started going here, in San Diego, right, on like the beach areas, right, where the people are, not downtown, because that's where the homeless people are. But let me get something straight right here. One day I was in Carlsbad, in the heart of Carlsbad, right? Carlsbad downtown, we can all say it, right? Where all the shops are, right? The typical area where you see all the white people walk, But I was asking this one person that was sitting, right? He was sitting in front of a 7-Eleven, he looked homeless, and so I didn't want to judge, man. I just went up to him and I asked him, hey, excuse me, sir, would you like to be in an interview? He's like, for what? Like all rude and stuff like that, right? Which it's understandable, right? He was like smoking or drinking something, I don't know, right? Can't remember very well. But I started having a conversation with him about certain political stuff, right? And I let the guy talk. He didn't want to be on the camera because he's not dumb, he's not stupid, he wasn't a crackhead, he was a civilized old person. I want to say he was around in his 60s. I want to say, to be generous, before his 70s, but he was in his 60s. And the main reason was because he couldn't pay, he couldn't have a certain living here in California. He's usually from on the east side. That's where I remember. He was from like Missouri or Tennessee, somewhere over there, right? Somewhere in the east, not the west. But he moved over here and he ended up being homeless because he wanted to. Some people become homeless because they want to. There are several factors. He could be one out of the thousands of homeless that we'll be talking about in this video. But that's something to think about too. There's people, sometimes people lose their homes and they end up being homeless. Another thing I wanted to say, when I was dashing, right, because I do DoorDash part-time as well, good customer service, right? You know what I'm saying? If you watch that video, thumbs up. But yeah, I was in Carlsbad too. I was around Palomar Airport. That's where all the good areas, right? That's where all the tourists are, and there's several shops and restaurants there, right? It's actually called Carl's Premium Outlets. Yeah, it's like a mini mall, and then there's like certain restaurants there nearby. But on one of the exits, there's like near a McDonald's, right? There's a McDonald's over here, and then there's the exit in the middle. And so I saw, on my left, I looked and I'm like, damn, there was a guy holding a sign. There was the wife and her dog and their dog sitting on the side of the freeway, right, on the little walkway. And so the sign said, "Help, my wife is pregnant, 12 weeks, something like that, 12 weeks pregnant. Help, anything helps," right? The typical board that says they're what they're going through. And I'm like, oh wow, I mean, that's I couldn't say that was fake, because what if they did lose their home. I don't remember what it said, but it said that the wife was pregnant pretty much. But I can't really judge them. So I took out one of my tips, right? I gave a $5 tip, and I just gave like here you go, right? And since I go the same way a couple of times, because I'm delivering and then I'm coming back to the same place, to the same restaurants, just because I want to camp there so I can get good orders. I saw them like two, three times, right? Yeah, and it's kind of sad, because some people start to live like that, and it becomes a lifestyle. But recently I started looking over the research and looking over articles that Gavin Newsom, he went to China. He started giving some programs up there in China and talked to the embassy over there, right? You guys can probably see it on the governor.com Newsom or something like that. It's like the governor of California website, and all the things that he is doing, right, supposedly. But on that article, we can also see that he's actually signing a bill for little tiny homes for the homeless people. He signed over $167 million. Let that sink in. $167 million for apparently building little tiny homes, or I want to say villages, or certain areas that we can put the people that need homes, and then we can put the people that have that have mental issues with psychiatrists or whatever help. Now, let me ask you, the viewer, let me ask you something. Do you think that will happen in California? From whatever or from whatever you have done research, or whatever you heard in the news, do you think that this certain situation will get cleaned up? Because it's sad to see that from San Diego, right? Because I live in this area, right, which I want to move in the future. But in this area right here, we got tons of homeless, tons. We got several thousands, 167,000 homeless. And so I don't think it's I don't think that the people that live in downtown, I don't think it's appropriate for them to pay a considerable amount of money in order for them to live in luxury homes or apartments in downtown, right? 20.6 billion allocated in 2024 to supposedly combat all the homelessness here in California, not just San Diego, California in itself, right? Now, there is this another thing called the Home Key Project. which it was funded around $3.7 billion in our local governments, right? And now, that is to specifically buy properties like motels, commercial buildings, and turn them into permanent, affordable housing. And that is so far around 13,500 units, and supposedly they have been finished, but it is not enough. Some of them are just not mentally okay. And we can probably agree on that. You guys have seen probably viral videos of homeless going crazy, talking to people, they're probably talking to themselves and, being all this like exaggerated and sarcastic, they're loud sometimes. And, it's sad, they got their own little issues going up in here. But, you and me can't really do nothing about it because we're not psychiatrists. We are not the government, right? Because everybody trusts in the government, right? Even you, my friend. I don't. Well, sometimes. I have my hopes, but not anymore, I used to have my hopes, but not anymore. We all know the government is corrupted, we all know they're just trying to pocket their money, all that funded money, all those billions. I can assure you that they're gonna go into the local governments again and maybe just report them into themselves, right? You get 1 million, you get 1 million, you get 1 billion, right? And maybe all the money is gonna get pocketed into Gavin Newsom's freaking pockets. I don't know. The guy seems happy, man. I might put some pictures up in here and there because, dude, if you go to his website, while in China, he was happy, man. He was like fucking. He thought he was a fucking main character, man. He looked like an actor, I'm not saying the guy is ugly, but he was just feeling it, he was just doing this, this poses, the pose that I don't know if you can see me, but I'm mysterious and shit, that mirror pose, someone took a picture while he was inside of the car and he was looking through the mirror, right, to the mirror of the car, and he was just doing this, and then boom, they took a photo of that. And it's funny, I'm gonna put it right here on this thing, I'm gonna put it right there, but I do want to put a picture and I want to put a video here so you can get the picture of what I'm talking about, because this subject, it's very fresh, it's like 5 years fresh, 6 years, 7 years maybe, because it is in the making. And like I said 3 minutes ago, they're supposed to have housing by now, and all those billions that were funded by the government, and now they are going to allocate it in 2024 to combat homelessness. We can just hope and pray that everything gets cleaned up, because the smell, man, I'm telling you, man, I go there every once in a while, maybe like once every 2 weeks, just because of work, because I don't live there. Right now it's not possible for me, but if I was able to live there, I would probably complain a lot, man. I'll be, with my face of, of like, damn, bro, I pay so much money and I get to live in this fucking homeless city, because it is indeed the homeless city. That's why it got named like that, the encampment city, or the homeless encampment city, because it is true. And so I just want to put a little video here so that you can get the picture. And
here in LA and throughout our city and state, we all know that we are facing a crisis. We all know that we cannot address the unhoused population if we don't address mental health and substance abuse at the same time.
Two major proposals signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in October seek to borrow $6.38 billion to provide additional housing as well as services for people who are chronically homeless and have severe mental illnesses and deal with substance abuse. The proposals, which will appear as a single item on the voter ballot next March, have received wide support from legislators.
Every dollar, every program, every roof, every bed, every newly trained caring provider means one more person off our streets, out of the hospital, out of jail, out of a lonely back bedroom, and with the chance for a better life.
If approved, the initiative could add more than 11,000 treatment beds, housing, and over 26,000 outpatient treatment slots for 100,000 people annually. Medical experts are pleased that the initiative would train more mental health workers.
We're hoping that with the legislation, one, it'll help us train more psychiatrists on the street, but also provide us an opportunity to train ourselves up so that we can help fill that gap. The second thing, of course, is it's one thing to help them survive on the street, but it's another thing to get them in housing. And as long as they're just caught up of the chaos of the street, it's hard for them to really get control of their mental health issues.
Governor Newsom also signed a new law in October that would make it easier for state authorities to compel patients with mental illness or drug and alcohol addictions to receive care, in some cases against their will.
Homeless people with mental illness may have less capacity to be making decisions in their own self-interest. So, the question of whether you want to authorize more hospitalization and so on, I'm not really too keen on that kind of thing, but as I said, there are alternatives like outpatient commitment and assisted outpatient therapy that can accomplish the same thing with less intrusion, on liberties.
It's the biggest push by California to address a decades-long crisis that is seemingly spiraling out of control. And it's now up to voters to decide next year if they want to approve the heavy price tag to transform their state's services for homelessness and mental health.
I want you to see the situation of California on that little video. I know it was short, but still, you can get yourself the idea of what is going on in California. Now, that is LA, but it looks exactly the same. I'm telling you, out of 100% accuracy, a 78 to an 88% out of 100 accuracy, it looks the same. Untrained eye and from the trained eye, this looks exactly the same. I'm telling you, this homelessness era of encampments and tents everywhere, because they're starting from dude, even in the freeways. If you live in San Diego, example, because I live in San Diego, I don't live in LA. The traffic is even worse there. But if you're in San Diego or anywhere south, you can probably agree that you see homeless people making the little mansions, right, on the side of the freeways, under the bridge. And then there's like shade because there's nothing there but only pavement and maybe some concrete, right? And maybe some like dirt that they haven't even finished. Yeah. And then they start making their houses, right? They're creative, man. I'm telling you, some homeless people are not mentally ill. They just can't afford to live or leave California. Because, most of them, I sometimes do talk to homeless people, I forget their names, but, out of the respect, I have nothing bad to say to them because none of them were, bad to me. None of them started to ask for money. None of them started to do anything malicious. Nothing, nothing under the bad section they did to me. Because sometimes I just strike out conversations with people, right? Sometimes it comes from me. Sometimes I just don't, right? It's just me. But sometimes I just talk to them like, hey, man, what's up, man? How you been? And they start talking, right? They start telling about their life. They start telling me how they got here, right? And I'm like, okay, I see. And so have you tried to get a job? And they're like, yeah, I mean, I've tried, but, I can't do it right now because this and this and that. And if not, my monetary from the government, my, the aid that they gave them, EBT, the food stamps that they gave them, they might, take them away from them once they get a job. And so I'm like, okay. So we're not too far from the truth, because if you're homeless, and I guess depending on your status or whatever status you are right now, you might have the chance to get your EBT taken away from the government, right? Because it is government money. And so I'm like, okay, but can't you try to at least get a job? And then they start like BSing, right? Because they don't want to, man. I'm telling you, that's just how I see it. That's just how I see it. And from what I've known and from the people I've talked to like 2 homeless, actually a couple. I can't remember very well how many, but a couple of them. But yeah, man. Alright, so this is Andy post-production of the video. I hope you guys liked the video. Honestly, I want to make more videos like this, going in deep, maybe like a 20 to 30 minute deep dive into the whole homelessness of California and maybe outside of my state. But for now, this is just gonna be California for this little video segment of my channel. And so if you like the video, comment down below what you liked. If you live in California, let me know about your experience, because when you're stuck in traffic, you might get a little thought, right? Like, damn, there's so many tents under the bridge. No matter where you go, there's at least one homeless person in your hometown. And now they're progressing into, all the homes, all the luxury homes, right? And it's very normal now. You walk outside, you see a homeless person, you're like, okay, he probably migrated from somewhere else, from maybe downtown your city. I don't know where you live, but LA, there's homeless everywhere. And if you're from LA, you can probably agree. There's a homeless on the side of the corner right now. You walk outside of your home or your apartment or wherever you live, and then you see a homeless person with the little cart, the little tent, and you can do nothing about it, because one, if you did, then that would be cruel, because it's not like you're gonna give him space in your home, right? You're not gonna bring him inside because you don't know him. So the best thing that we could do is pray for the government to do something, which they're probably not going to do shit. They're not going to do anything. They're maybe just going to record 1,000 or 10,000 people walk into the new homes that I mentioned in this video, right? From the $16.7 billion that apparently got funded for apartments in San Jose and everywhere else in California. They're just going to BS, man. And maybe we can expect more homeless in the future, 2024 and above, because it is indeed 2023 October. So guess what? November, December, boom, 2024. We are 2 months from being in 2024. A new year, a new me, right? Apparently now, huh? But anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. Let me know what you think about it, and let me know if you want to see more of these. Have a great day and have a great weekend. Bye bye.